We're live. Awesome. What's up, my friends? Abbie here, and welcome to the third week of our writing retreat. Write with me live stream group writing sessions. I'm super happy you're here. Thank you for showing up for this live stream today. First things first, tell me if you can see me and hear me okay. We have to make sure our microphones are on, right? If you remember last week, you know that we had a little bit of technical difficulties with the microphone. So first things first, let me know if you can hear me. And I'll get this off. Well, actually, no, I want to be able to see the chat. So what's up? What are you working on today? I have just hopped on the live stream. Okay, you guys can hear me? Awesome. Great. So I just hopped on the live stream. I was like rushing around all morning and I didn't even have a chance to like open up my Scrivener and see what I'm working on today. But I think I know what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on the group or the co-write project that I'm doing with my sister Kate. Because if you guys saw my update a few days ago in the YouTube community, I finished writing the Lighthouse book. Yay! Actually, it's right here. I won't show you my working title yet, but this is the first portion of it. First 100 pages that I've printed off and I've started editing, and it's a little bit messier than I thought it was going to be. So there's like a lot of pages with a lot of red pen on them, which I'm not a fan of, but you know, that's just the editing struggle. But at least it's becoming like better. That is one consolation, right? Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'm so glad that you're excited for this book. I'm very excited for this book. I cannot wait to share it with you guys, which I'm hoping to do that soon, sooner than I expected. Like it's funny, every time I write a book, I feel like I go through this same process of being like, this is going to be the next one. And then like later it ends up not being that way. But I think for real this time, I think it's really going to happen. I've also been working on edits for another project that is definitely going to be published this year, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to share with you guys. I wish I could like talk all about it right now, but I can't because it's not ready to be spoken about yet. But it's going to be. Just like stay tuned for that because it's going to be very exciting. Okay, everyone's hopping on. Great. Awesome. Looks like you guys are working on some awesome projects today, all kinds of different projects. It's so cool. So how these live streams work is, if you're new around here, you've probably been doing this with me for a while, but if you're new around here, these live streams work like this. We do writing sprints for 25 minutes, and then we do a 5-minute break where I stop and talk to you guys, and we share our word count if that's something you're into, and we just talk about writing. I answer some questions, and it's super chill. So usually we do 4 writing sprints in the span of 2 hours if I don't talk too much during those breaks. Sometimes I run out of time, but I'm going to aim for 4 today. We're going to try to do 4 today, and we're going to be in this session for 2 hours. And don't worry if you can't stay for the whole thing. The replay will be available on my channel. You can always come back later and do the rest later, or join us next week. Next week is going to be, I think, our last one. Is it? Or no, I think I'm doing, because the last day of June is a Wednesday, right? So I think I'm going to do a final one on the last day of June as well, like to finish it off. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So yeah, that's how this live stream works. And I'm excited to jump into the manuscript. Actually, I haven't even gotten my Scrivener open yet, so I should probably do that. There's like an unnecessarily violent click of my mouse. Okay. Yeah, so I wrote this last chapter I wrote that I was working on last week. It ended up being really long. It's like just shy of 4,000 words, which is crazy. And I don't know I don't know why I got so long-winded with this chapter. I was just really into it, I guess. Also, how do you guys like the new setup? This desk has been specifically designed to fit my computer. Okay, placeholder. This is going to be chapter 9. I'm actually skipping a chapter because Kate is supposed to write the next chapter, but I don't think it is really relevant to what I'm going to write in the following chapter, so I'm just going to work on the following chapter today. So, awesome. Are you guys ready to write? Sounds like you have some exciting projects you're working on today. I think everybody has hopped on the live stream. Yeah, we're definitely getting to the usual number of people. Also, we hit 100,000 subscribers, which you probably saw my video about that the other day, but I was so excited and it was just amazing. And you probably saw the silly little edit I made of myself saying, why does it matter over and over again? Because I repeat myself a lot. But thank you guys so much for 100K. This has been such an amazing journey. Honestly, it doesn't feel real to me still. Like it still feels surreal. And I'm so excited and grateful to all of you for being here. Like, you make my dreams come true every day, and I love you guys so much. So thank you. Okay, let's get our timers ready. I'm excited to hop into the writing session today. I'm not gonna use my, I was trying to figure out my setup for audio before I got this set up, because I'm like, okay, I'm using the audio, I'm live streaming on this computer that I'm also writing on. So I was trying to figure out, like, how should I listen to music? And now that I think about it, because I'm just afraid to use these now, I'm afraid to use any Bluetooth device while I'm live streaming at this point. So I think what I'm literally going to do, this is so ridiculous, but I think I'm literally going to use my analog headphones with a cord plugged into my laptop. There's so many devices required just to write today. It's ridiculous. But that's how we're rolling, because I'm honestly just terrified of screwing up this microphone again. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, guys, are you ready to, okay, that's fine. Are you ready to write? I'm gonna get the timer up for myself. And I do not want email notifications. Come on. That'd be a problem. Okay, so 25 minutes, that's gonna be our first writing sprint. Get your timers going if that's something you want to do. You'll probably also hear my timer go off. I have no idea what I want to listen to. Probably just like some soundtracks for starters. I honestly have to read my outline and see what I'm even writing, because I didn't even have time to do that. Okay, let's hop to it. Timers are set, 25 minutes. I will talk to you then, and let's go. There is timer number 1 for our first writing sprint. How did it go? Let me know in the chat. Feel free to tell me what your word count was for that writing sprint. Mine was right around 300 words. Usually takes me like a few minutes to get into the groove of what I'm writing. But I feel like I'm already like getting into it. So that's always a good thing whenever I can just like slip right into the scene, into the character without thinking too much about it. So tell me how that writing sprint went for you guys. Great word counts. 500, 600, wow. 812, oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. 221, 293. Awesome. Congrats. Great job. Keep up the great work. I'm going to answer some questions, and then we're going to jump back into our second sprint. Sorry, I'm like kind of tired today. I'm like totally got into that sprint, and then I'm like, what? Where am I? Question. Let's see. Questions. Love the headphones. Where did you get them? I got them from, I can't remember where I got them from exactly, but they are Beats. I can't remember what, Solo 3, I guess they are. Beats Solo 3. I really like the rose gold ones. I actually got these because, like, if you haven't noticed, everything in the other setting that I did the first live stream in that room, everything is like rose gold and really pretty. And like this just matched perfectly. I really like these headphones. They are comfortable, but I usually wear like the earbuds now because I just really don't like things squeezing my head like for a long period of time. But I'm using them today because you know why. My issues with the Bluetooth. Oh, it looks like a super chat came in. Super chats from Emma. Thank you so much. How do you choose between multiple directions you are considering taking your plot? I asked myself what would matter most to the character, but still going in circles with several options/directions. That's a good question, because it's amazing how once you start like brainstorming and outlining and getting all of these ideas, it's like this could go in so many different directions, and sometimes it's really hard to choose like what direction do I want to take with this, with the plot and also with the character's internal journey. My advice would be to like lay out your options and compare them and kind of compare like the pros and cons of each one. So I've done this a lot for stories in the past when I'm outlining. I'll have like several different ideas of like, oh, it could go this direction, it could also go this direction. And I just kind of make a new document or a new document in my scrivener usually, and write down like, okay, in this scenario, this would happen. And then second scenario option, this happens. And if there's a third one, write down the third one. And then looking at each one, write down like a list of what are the pros of doing this and then the cons of doing this. And by that, I mean like, does this plot or side plot or whatever option take the characters away from maybe one of the transformations that you had planned or the themes you had planned? Does it like deviate too much from the original tone and message and plot and just your whole original like goal with this book? Does the plot idea scenario, does it deviate too much from that? And that would be a con in that case. So I just like to like make a list of those things and then try to figure out like what are the pros and cons, and then obviously the one you end up going with is the one that has the most pros and the least cons. That's just how I've done that in the past, and that's really helped me. So I think that might help you as well. Another super chat, thank you so much to JS. Hi, Abbie, do you have a method of outlining off-page events to keep track of action outside the MC's point of view, but which still will affect the plot? That's also a good question. This is kind of like a little bit of an intricate thing, because if it's something that's off screen, you need to know, you as the author need to know like when it's happening in the universe of your story, but your character doesn't necessarily have to know right when it's happening, or they can't know exactly when it's happening. I would write it as a separate, usually what I do is I write it as a separate document, or I write it somewhere else in my outline, or I write it like in brackets, like, meanwhile, this is happening, but the character's not going to find out until later. Or a second way to do this, a different way to do this would be to not write it into your outline until you know when the character is going to realize or hear about it. And then when they hear about it, you could insert it into your outline there as like the character learns that, you know, 3 days ago this happened or whatever. So yeah, there's a few different ways to do that. I usually, what I end up doing when I'm outlining is I get a bunch of ideas totally out of sequential order. So I'll just keep like a brain dump document, which if you've used my Scrivener template, you've probably seen the brain dump document in that template. And every time I get a new idea, I just write it down into that document. And it's a mess, yeah. But what I'll do is I will later figure out the chronological order that everything is supposed to go in. And that has really just worked well for me. So there are several different ways to do this, of course, but you should do whatever works best for you. Okay, a few super chats went by. I try to not miss them here. From Amy, thank you so much, Amy, you're the best. Also from Ali, thank you for the super chat. And from Ivania, thank you. I haven't spent too much time on an idea before I realized that it's not as exciting as I thought. How can I figure out if an idea is worth pursuing? That's a good question. I get a lot of ideas, a lot of plot bunnies that I get excited about for like a period of time, but the excitement doesn't necessarily last a long time, or it's something that needs to be developed like on the back burner for a while, and then later I'll pick it up and I'll get excited about it again. But I've had a lot of ideas that I put them into my like plot bunny Scrivener project, which just has all my story ideas in it. And I just let them sit there, and I come up with some thoughts and some ideas for them. And as I come up with things, I will add to that document and make sure that I don't forget any ideas, because you know me, I'm obsessed with writing down like every idea I have ever. But usually what happens is the ones that like I am genuinely excited about will stick with me, and I won't have to like make myself think about them. I won't have to, I guess what I'm trying to say is like when I go through, like when I just leave them there and then time goes by, it will keep coming back to me. I'll keep thinking about it. I'm like, oh, I really can't stop thinking about that idea. Those are the ones that, in my opinion, are worth pursuing, are the ones that stick with you, that you're really passionate about. And it's not just like, oh, that would be a cool idea. And it's not even so much like this would like sell, or this would be like there's a lot of readers who would read this. Like, don't even go by that. Go by what you are personally passionate about, because that is what's going to bring you through the whole process. That's what's going to give you the perseverance, right? Making it matter to you. So that's the most important thing, first and foremost. It can also be like a really great, like marketable idea. That's also great bonus if it's also that, but it has to be something that you are passionate about. So I think the things that stick with you are the things that are worth pursuing, essentially. I saw another super chat, or no, I guess I didn't. I saw just a member. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. I'm going to answer a couple more questions, and then we're going to get back into our next writing sprint. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to do something that I'm going to do. Let's see if I can figure this out. I think I click edit. Is that what I do? Okay. So this chat flies by like really fast for me. So I'm going to put this on a setting at 30 seconds, I think it was. 30 seconds. Okay, great. I should be able to see your messages more clearly now. How do you write 3 point of views? The same way you write 2 point of views. Just make sure you always make whatever's happening matter to that character, and you're giving each character a vital role in the story. If it's mattering to them, then we're going to want to go into their head and see how they're dealing with these situations. Also, having 3 characters is a great way to go to like the villain's point of view if you have an antagonist in your story, or just to see another perspective that you literally cannot see through the other 2 characters. I made a video about writing multiple point of views, so check that out because I think I talk about the 3 point of views in that video as well. But yeah, it's the exact same thing. How can you master a character's voice? Made a video about that too. Check that out. That was an older video, but it's a really good video. And I give 7 great tips for rocking your character voice. If you just type in Abbie Emmons character voice, it should come right up. And I just give a lot of good advice in that video. Cover like basically all of it. But my quick tips would be to practice a lot. Like literally it's such a time thing. It's something that just comes with the more practice. It will click over for you. I often compare it to like in singing, like when you finally learn how to do vibrato, which took me so long to learn how to do vibrato. And it's not really something you can like learn like it is, but it isn't. It's just something that like one day you get it and you're like, oh, I've got it. That's how it feels for character voice, which is so not helpful to describe it like that, but that's literally how it is. At least that's how it was for me. But you can do things that will help you practice it and hone your skill more. One of those things for me that really helped me was to write 2 point of views, alternating point of views, totally opposite personalities, and give them both very distinctive voices, and just challenge yourself to make these characters like polar opposite. And practicing that over and over again will help you to get the hang of like going into 2 different voices and 2 different styles. Don't even think of it so much as this is my writing style. My book is written in my writing style. Think of it as this character's narrative is written in their style. It's their voice. So that's something that I always keep in mind when I'm writing. Okay, so I'm going to grab one more question and then we are going to jump into our second writing sprint because time is flying away from us. Let's see. Any tips for young writers? That's a great question. That's something that me and Kate actually recently did a podcast about. I think it was a couple months ago. We did one about advice for teen writers, and that is just such a straight up motivational episode. You need to go find that one and listen to it because it's so good. And we give all of our best advice and tips for young writers and any writer really, because the thing is, young writers are the same as any writer. We are all learning. We are all students of this. We are all practicing our art. And it's not like, we reach a place where everything that we write comes out brilliant and perfect the first time. No, it doesn't. And I was thinking about that last night of like how it's not, we don't ever reach like this place of perfection in our journey where everything that we create and practice is automatically perfect. Like even the people that you admire the most, the writers you admire the most, they have lousy writing days sometimes. Yeah. And they still need to edit their books and they still need to make revisions and they probably have some really cringe-worthy first drafts. And I don't think we really think about that a lot. It's just like, oh, I'm holding this polished, perfect book in my hands, and this writer is so good. I'll never be as good as this writer. But that was probably once a messy first draft. And that should give you confidence as a young writer, as any writer, as any artist, really. Same with like, I was thinking about it with music. Like, yeah, musicians mess up their music sometimes. I speak as a musician. Yes. Very technical. Your favorite artists, okay? Your favorite singers, they sometimes sing off key. So it's not like we reach this level of like, I'm so professional, that everything I do comes out perfect. Like, you'll never reach that level. We are literally all just practicing art. And that's what we should embrace, is the practice. So yeah, go and check out that episode for teen writers. I think you would like it. Okay, we're gonna jump back into our next writing sprint. So I'm gonna take this off so you guys can chat all you want with each other, but you should be writing. So let's get to it. I'm gonna set my timer again, and 25 minutes on the timer. Let's get to our next writing sprint. There's our second timer. Writing sprint number 2. Let's see. Was that 300? No, 646. So that was like 346. So yay, more than last time. How did your writing sprint go? Tell me in the chat. That went really quite well. So far, this project has been pretty easy to write. It's been good. 408, 500, 520, 600, 720. Wow, you guys are awesome. 344, same. Awesome. Great job, guys. Keep up the great work. Looks like your writing sprint went well. I'm finally like getting into this chapter. It feels good. Let's see. Abbie, someone was asking about the superpower that you want to have. Please answer because I'm curious. That's a good question. I don't really know. Honestly, probably like invisibility, I think would be a cool superpower, because then you could like sneak around into places that you're not supposed to be. And you could like listen in on conversations and stuff, and no one would know you're there. So I think that would be cool. That'd be a cool superpower. Super chat, thank you so much from Maddie. How big of edits do you make after your first draft? I make basically all the edits that I can find. I used to do like different stages of editing because I used to have messier first drafts, but currently I'm pretty happy with how how my first drafts come out. They usually aren't too messy, so there isn't as much to edit, so I don't have to like go through several different rounds with different goals in mind for editing. I just kind of go through it and catch everything. So I do have like the 2 rounds as far as the first round of edits is for anything that is like the sentence structure and sometimes developmental stuff if there's like a problem, but usually there isn't because I outline so intensely. And then for line edits, I kind of just catch the biggest stuff that I can personally see, because I don't obviously catch all of them. My professional editor does that for me later on, like all the grammatical stuff. But anything that really jumps out to me, I will catch on that first edit. And then I also put it through Hemingway, which I've talked about before, which catches passive voice, overly complicated sentences, too many adverbs, things like that. And I just look to see what I can improve there. So that's kind of my first draft process, but it's also like, I guess, partially the second draft. I don't know. My editing process has definitely changed. Another super chat, thank you so much, from Winter Wolf 2006. Hi Abbie, congrats on 100K. Please make a Discord server. I think it'd be really fun. I really want to make a Discord server that is on my Trello list of things to do. So I'm definitely going to get to that. Thank you so much. Another super chat from Allie. Thank you. Tips for creating a love triangle. She is best friends with one and the other she didn't like until recently. Both guys are showing interest too and she's confused about her feelings. So I personally love triangles, love triangles, because there are so many opportunities for great internal conflict. And I think too many writers just avoid love triangles altogether because they're afraid that they won't turn out good or something. But love triangles can be done really well. And when they're done really well, they're so good. My number one tip for love triangles, and this is kind of like vague and you have to like take it into your own context of your story, is to make it so that every character in the love triangle is technically not doing something, like they're not like wrong, so to speak. Like you can love and care about every character in the love triangle, because if you can't, then it quickly becomes like annoying. Like one person is definitely really annoying then. You know what I mean? Like if they aren't all characters that you can care about, then one of them will definitely be annoying, if that makes sense. And then it will in turn make the love triangle feel like frustrating. Like, why isn't she just with this guy because he's so much better? Like it has to be, you want your reader to be like, oh, I want her to be with them both in a way because I love them both. You know what I mean? So it's like your reader should be torn, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They should be like conflicted themselves as to who they want your character to end up with. So that there's so many different ways to pull that off. Obviously, getting into all the characters' head and seeing like what is their internal conflict, what matters to them, and getting to know each character and their personal struggle, what makes them relatable. That is going to be so key in making your reader care about each of these characters and what the relationship means to them. Like the relationship should matter to all three of them in such a vital way that it's frustrating and heartbreaking to see any of them not get what they want and to not have this relationship. So in the end, like, you want your reader to be happy, yeah, and satisfied, but they should also be a little bit frustrated because you can't have it both ways. So that's just some of my initial thoughts on love triangles. Hopefully that helps. I want to do another video about that sometime. Another question, super chats from Ivania. Thank you again. Sometimes my prose is too stiff and lacks emotion. Can you give me some advice on how I can make my writing more interesting? So the thing about prose, I don't know if you saw my recent video about writing prose, writing good prose, but basically my point in that video was your prose, your writing, your narrative should make your reader feel something. That should be your ultimate goal. Is not, does this sound good? It should be, does this make my reader feel something? Is this emotional? So obviously that is a journey in and of itself to learn to write prose that is emotional and compelling and makes your reader feel something. But I always have found that less is usually more. And if you can simplify emotions, your reader is way more likely to relate to and grasp what you're trying to say if you can say it in fewer words and you can find the most simple but beautiful way to describe something. That to me is the most impressive writing. The most impressive prose is not like a big flowery description that has a lot of, you know, precise but kind of highfalutin language in it. That is not as impressive to me as a very simply crafted line that cuts right to the heart and makes me feel something. So that has always been more impressive to me in prose. I always aim to write something that's emotional, something that's going to evoke emotion in my reader rather than something that is just literary and like impressive technically from a technical standpoint. It's kind of the same. I keep using like musical analogies here, but it's kind of the same with like music and singing. I've always been way more attracted to a singer's voice if they can put like emotion into their performance in singing a song rather than like this is technically perfect and my voice is like technically perfect and I can hit all these notes and do all this cool stuff with my voice. That to me is not as like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not, it doesn't like hit home. It doesn't stick with me as much as if I can hear the emotion in someone's voice when they're singing. So that is the same with writing, really. And that's definitely what I always aim for. Another super chat from Underdog Fox. Thank you. Should I be worried about adding details? Kind of a vague question. I wouldn't worry too much about adding too many details in the first draft because you can always go back and add things later, especially if it's historical details. Definitely make notes about those, but don't let the small details that don't matter so much slow down your writing process. Another super chat from Francesca. Thank you so much. I have good developed characters and made a great scenario, but I'm finding tons of moral ethical issues with my story. Should I change the scenario? Also kind of a vague, complex question. I think if you go back to like what's your original goal with this story and what are you trying to, what's the theme that you're bringing to this story? What is the message? That should be where you begin. Okay, so starting with your character's misbelief, which is the reverse engineered theme. Check out my misbelief video if you haven't seen that already. That is the best place to start from because that is your inner compass, so to speak. That's the truth you want to scream from the rooftops. So starting with that as your starting point is so helpful for all of the themes that carry over into your book, because if you keep this as like your main direction, then you can't really stray off the path too much and you will stay on point with your theme that you feel compelled to write a story about. Another super chat from Allie's Bookish Life. Thank you so much. Abbie, when you're editing, does it still go in Scrivener or do you make another, do you use another program for this? Do you make a new doc in Scrivener for edits? I actually use Microsoft Word for pretty much all of my editing after I take it out of Scrivener. I don't know why I started doing this, except that I like the review panel in Microsoft Word better than in Scrivener, because although I love everything about Scrivener, in Scrivener, the review panel is like in your inspector menu and it's going to be different for each chapter. So like each chapter being a new document, each document will have its own like panel of edits. And I just like the feel of once I start editing, I like it to feel like it's a complete whole book and I can zoom through the edits for the whole book without having to jump between different documents. So that's just how I prefer to edit. But I always, like I said earlier, I always print off the book into on actual paper and edit it with a red pen, and then I go and type in my edits into my Word document. That's just my process. That's always worked good for me. Okay, I'm going to answer this last super chat question, then we're going to get into our next writing sprint. This is from Gabby Sue Productions. Thank you so much. Writing plot for a sci-fi TV series, and I'm in love with the story, sadly not connected with my characters and unsure how to develop lives without changing my plot. Okay, so it sounds like you love your plot, you love the story itself, but you don't feel super connected to the characters. That's definitely a common problem that a lot of writers run into, because we get really like enamored with the plot and the actual story, but kind of disconnected from the characters. But the characters are the most important part. So if you're not connected to them, if you don't feel that connection, that passion for them, your reader won't either. So definitely a good thing to diagnose at the very beginning and address that issue. I would advise that you start like hanging out virtually with your main characters, especially your protagonists. And even going through like the character profiles and giving them like character therapy sessions, as I like to call them, which I talked about in my Preptober series a couple of years ago, that you can take like the character questionnaires and feel like you're just talking to your character, even if you just like say this out loud, and don't worry if you look crazy, like asking your characters questions or writing it down in your scrivener, in your document, and just coming up with like, if this character was here in the room with me, would I want to hang out with them? Because ultimately they have to be people that you want to hang out with, right? You're going to be spending a lot of time writing about them, writing their perspective, their narration in their head, and you have to feel connected to them. So I would start with the character profile that I give out on my channel, and that is in the description of pretty much every video that I post. It's not in this description, but it's in all the other ones. And that's a great place to start, to get to know your character, to get to know their fears and their misbeliefs, and to make it personal to you as well. So asking yourself, how can I incorporate something that I have personally gone through, or an aha moment that I personally had in my life? How can I incorporate that into this character's journey and make it more personal to me? And that will be a great place to find your connection, your passion for these characters. Okay, so let's get into our next writing sprint. I know I've been talking for a long time, but you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for all the super chats. You are so amazing. I appreciate your support so much. Okay, I'm excited to get back into my chapter. So we're going to set the timers, and 25 minutes on. Let's do this. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. A super chat just came in. I just read this one real quick. Enneagram. Thanks for introducing it. Have you watched Dr. Tom LaHue? Such a game changer. No, I haven't, but I'm definitely going to look that up now. I'm glad the Enneagram has helped you. It's helped me so much. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, let's go. And that's our timer for our third writing sprint. Trying to see how many words that was. I think that was, I can't math. I'm so tired. It's hard to tell because I went back and added more. But I think it was like 400. I think it was like 400 words. That last one. How did it go? Comment in the chat. Let me know. That one went pretty well for me, but I definitely was not as focused for that writing sprint as the one before it. You guys write so much, it's crazy. You guys are so fast. I know, it goes by so quickly. I'm on a roll too, and it's like, what? This timer keeps interrupting me. 375 words, 372. Awesome. Wow, great job. Great job, guys. You did awesome today. I wrote almost 3 pages and around 900 words, which is pretty good for me because I don't write very quickly, but when I get like in the zone, I can write faster if I'm not like interrupted by things like a timer. So yeah, that went pretty well, and I cannot believe it's 3 o'clock already. What the heck? 2 hours just like flew by just like that. But it was great. It was productive, and it looks like you guys wrote quite a few words. So awesome. I want to answer a couple of questions, and then I have to run, but from Rebecca, I would love for you to make videos about how to use Pinterest and Trello for novel writing. That's a great idea. I've actually never really used Trello for novel writing, but I love using Trello for like just productivity stuff in general and like planning and all of that. So I can see where it would be helpful for novel writing too, and outlining. What is the max amount of pages you've wrote in one day? Like ever? I don't know about pages, but the most I ever wrote in one day was over 6,000 words. And that was when I was writing 100 Days of Sunlight. So I don't know if it counts as one day because I stayed up till like 2 o'clock in the morning writing. So it was a lot, but it was fun. How do you make things interesting when a character is externally doing nothing but internally having a crisis? I think it's already interesting that they're internally having a crisis. Like, as long as internal conflict is happening, it's interesting. Like, literally, it does not have to be anything external. It doesn't have to be anything thrilling or exciting beyond that. Like, yeah, eventually events will happen that will have to push them outside their comfort zone and send them on their journey. But the internal conflict is really where it's at. So don't worry about that. I also use Trello for outlining, character profile, and scene cards. Wow, that's so cool. I never thought to use it for that, but that's a great idea. I want to do that now. What's your trick for figuring out when the story starts? I don't know if there's really like a trick to it as much as just making sure that the hook, as in the first page when the story starts, is capturing your character's internal conflict. I mean, I know I talk about it so much, but I talked about it in a video I made about the hook, and basically looking at the timeline of your story, or like the beginning of your story, like you can see different events that are happening and when they happen. And with that in mind, with the principle of the hook in mind, how can I show my reader how this character is being pushed outside their comfort zone and why it matters to them based on their internal conflict. Now, through that parameter, I can better look at the context of my opening of my story and decide which event, which day, which thing happening in the plot is going to be the most suitable for the beginning of the story. So there may be a few different options, and you can even try a few different options and have your beta readers read them and see what grabs them the fastest and what pulls them in. Can you please give some ideas about sad backstory except deaths? I actually want to do a whole video on writing backstory, and that is going to be coming at you in July because I've been really wanting to do a video about that, and I can't believe I haven't done a video about that yet. But I mean, I have in like the far past, but I need to make another one about backstory and how to make it sad and compelling without necessarily involving character deaths in it, because that's not like a be-all end-all way to make your reader sad. I think that the best way to make your reader sad, the most creative way to make your reader sad, is to figure out a way to do that without killing any characters. Like if you can do that, you're an experienced writer. Let's see, I'm gonna do 2 more questions and then I have to run. This won't count. Where did you get your shirt? I love the sleeves. My mom actually gave me this shirt, and I think she got it from Old Navy, which I don't usually shop from Old Navy, but this was like really cute, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like so cute and like cottage core, which I'm kind of obsessed with, especially now. So yeah, I love it. Okay, 2 questions. I'm writing a fantasy book, and I was wondering how to make the reader stay into what's happening. My act 2 doesn't have as much action as act 1 and 3. Well, that's totally normal for act 2 to not have as much action or exciting things happening as act 1 and act 3, because in the beginning you're pulling your reader into the story, right? And you want to grab them with something that is going to engage them. So it's great to have action in that first inciting incident, first plot point movement. The second act is basically the reaction and the action taking place on the part of the protagonist in response to what happened in the end of act 1. So you can almost look at it as like an extension of act 1 and not so much like its own separate thing, because it is the domino effect, right? It's cause and effect. And the cause of act 1 creates the effect of act 2, and then leading into act 3, which is your climax. So of course you want to have a lot of action and excitement in the climax of your story. It doesn't just have to be external events, of course, like we always talk about. So in act 2, if it feels like it's lagging or it's like the mushy middle, I made a whole group of videos about this, part of my 3-act story structure series. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. I have, I think 3 videos or 4 videos. Yeah, I think like 4 videos on act 2, talking about the middle of your book, the plot twist, and examples for plot twists, game-changing midpoints, and how to make them matter to your characters, and going into the second half of act 2. And as long as you are carrying through the thread of your character's goal, what are they going after? Why does it matter to them? As long as that is perfectly apparent to the reader and they can see the direct connection to why this character is doing everything that they're doing, it's going to be enough. It is going to be enough. And don't feel like I have to add more external events and more action and more exciting things happening in order to keep my reader's attention. Because as long as there is this goal, there's this end goal that your character is pursuing, and you can clearly see their motivation for pursuing it, and you can relate to their struggle on a fundamental level, you're good to go. Like, congratulations, it's a compelling act 2. So don't worry too much about that. But definitely check out those videos I mentioned. Okay, last question, and then I have to go. Do you prefer writing blurbs before or after starting and finishing a novel? That's a good question. I've talked about blurbs in the past, and I cannot wait to share my blurb masterclass with you guys eventually. I'm going to be working on that this summer. I'm very excited for it. I like to do both. I like to write a rough version of a blurb before I start writing the book, just to put myself on the right path with the book, and to also get myself excited about it too, and to see the vision, like the end game vision for this book. That is a great way to do it. But don't think like I have to perfect the blurb before I write the book, because things will change. Probably things will change during the writing process that you may want to add into your blurb, and it may surprise you. But starting with a good vision and the vision of what the potential of this book could be, I think really helps. It helps me anyway to motivate me to continue writing the book and to spark that excitement for myself, that excitement, that inspiration and motivation. So it personally helps me a lot, but it's not like something that every writer must do. It's not something that I advise every writer to do, because some writers hate writing blurbs and they're just like, no, I can't do it. But I'm going to help you with that eventually. I'm going to release that masterclass about blurb writing, and it's going to be so good. I cannot wait to share it with you guys. But stay tuned for that. I know I've been teasing it forever, like longer than I've been teasing my next book, which I haven't even been talking about really. But yeah, that's coming. So yeah, either way, I prefer doing it before, but then I also write like a second, more polished version afterwards, of course, for the publishing process to actually go on the back of the book. So yeah, I've got to run, but thank you guys so much for coming to this live stream today. I'm so glad you made it. I'm so glad we got to write together. It was so great to see your smiling faces, and I'm so glad that you got some writing in. I will be doing another live stream next week on Wednesday, and I'm going to be announcing the time the day before. I don't know what time of day I'm going to do it exactly. Probably another afternoon session. We'll see. But yeah. Okay, thank you guys so much for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Until next time, rock on.